I suppose, Beth, let me start with you. Just seeing the sheer force of fans that were out in their numbers today is a massive reminder of how far the women's game has grown.
Yeah, it was so special, and I think it exceeded everyone's expectations. I know a couple of the players were interviewed, and they said, you know, they were concerned that there weren't going to be enough people filling the mall. It wasn't the nicest day here in terms of weather in England, so I think there was a little bit of trepidation that the fans might be deterred from coming out. But fortunately, that wasn't the case. More than 65,000 fans there today to celebrate, and it marks, you know, it's such a departure from 10, 15 years ago when, you know, players were coming back from major tournaments waiting for people to greet them at the airport, and there was nobody there, whereas now, you know, they're welcomed back as heroes, and rightly so, because what they have achieved is incredible, and the legacy of what they have achieved will live on for a very long time.
Absolutely. Mark, when it comes to the women's game, they've definitely been able to deliver with these back-to-back Euro tournaments. When it comes to the men, they've got close but not quite got over the line, so it's given the England fans something to cheer about once again.
Yeah, I mean, I remember prior to the last Euros, the England men's team was sending good luck wishes to the Lionesses, and I thought it was a little bit patronising in many ways, because the England men hadn't won anything in the first place to actually encourage them to do what they could do. But now the tables have turned. You know, the Lionesses have won 2 major tournaments. They got to the World Cup final 2 years ago and were beaten by a very good Spain side. So, you know, somebody said earlier on, this is the best football team England has ever had, and I know it sounds crazy because obviously England men won the World Cup in '66, but this team has defended a title. It's the first English football team to win a major tournament away from England. So you can't kind of overstate the achievement. It's a massive achievement. And also, just to add, before the tournament started, Mary Earps, the goalkeeper who was one of the legends of the last tournament and the World Cup, and Millie Bright, the captain of the last World Cup, both basically retired last minute before the tournament, threw the squad into disarray. But England have still overcome that to win this tournament. So you have to give them all the credit they deserve. You know, Serena Wiegman, great coach. They've done really well. And I think, yeah, you could argue that a lot of the times that I think they were only ahead for 4 minutes in the knockout stage of the whole tournament. Doesn't matter. You got to win the games. They won the games. They won on penalties. So what? They won the tournament. So very deserved. And it's great for not just women's football in England, but it's great for football in England because it encourages everybody to play, not just girls, but boys as well. I mean, it's not just, you know, limited to girls. This has been embraced by the whole country. So I think it's great all around.
Yeah, let's talk about overcoming and resilience when you take a look at England's road to glory. Obviously, they lost their opening game. They fell behind in the last 3 games that they played in this tournament, and still LA found a way to come back. A resilience that we don't always see in major tournaments.
Yeah, so let me first address that. Only Mark Ogden would find negativity in a men's team wishing a women's team good luck. What else are they supposed to say? And so, how is that patronizing?
We couldn't.
Hey, you're wishing somebody to do well in a tournament. You're wishing them good luck, and somehow that's a negative? I don't see it. In terms of the resilience, you know what happens in this sort of competitions at times is when perhaps you're not playing at your best, and all you really have to do, and all you're really clinging on to is survive and advance. Survive and advance. And the more you do that, then that has a very powerful feeling and adds a powerful feeling to a locker room, because it gives you a sense of belief that maybe it's just meant to be. Maybe we're meant to be here. Maybe regardless of the injuries, regardless of the absences, we keep advancing, we keep going through penalty kick shootouts. Nobody thinks that we're going to be able to win this. We've only led 4 minutes and whatever the case may be in the knockout stage, but here we are. And then they get to a point in the final in which, once again, they're put in a situation in which they have to perform from the penalty kick spot, and they seem to have more confidence doing that than Spain did going to that stage. And so regardless of how England got to this point, and regardless how they go about winning this tournament, nobody, and I mean nobody, will remember nor will care as to if it was barely surviving, it was barely hanging on. In the end, who had the parade? In the end, who's raising the trophy? In the end, who are the champions? And that's the only answer that matters, and that's England.
Yes, and let's talk about Serena Wiegman if we can as well, Beth, because she has been contributing and behind these amazing comebacks for this England team too. How has she done that?
Yeah, she's an incredible manager, and it was a real coup when she came in back in 2021 for the Football Association to actually get her in, because she was a proven winner. She'd just come off winning the Euros with a native Netherlands, so she was really in demand, and I think for the FA to bring her in was a statement of intent from them to show that they were serious about advancing women's football in England, and she has absolutely done that. And you know, she's quite an understated character. She's quite straight talking. The players have said that themselves. You know, she's been praised for her direct communication, for making sure players always know where they stand. But I think what's really clear, and it's been clearer than ever throughout this tournament, is that there's a real togetherness within this team, and you don't always see that whether in men's or women's football. When it gets to international level, sometimes, you know, there can be division between clubs and things like that, or players unhappy because they're maybe not playing as much as they would like to be. But there's been absolutely none of that this summer, or indeed in 2022 when England won it the first time. That there's such a united group, and so much of that I think is down to the manager and her communication and her ability to foster this really special spirit within the group.
You know, I was in London today, not for the parade, I should add, but I was there, and it was great to see so many mums and dads with their daughters and their sons going down to London to watch the parade. And you know, having been to a couple of these, you know, major tournaments, the women's tournaments, it's a different environment, it's a different vibe, and it's a much more pleasant vibe at times than watching the England Lionesses than watching the England men's team in many ways. It's a much more enjoyable experience, you know, going to the game. There's none of the kind of the anger to it. There's none of the nastiness. It's such a pleasant experience, but it also helps when the team wins. And the team are winning. There's so many great role models in there as well. And they are, you know, obviously the big question now is, can they win the World Cup in 2 years' time? That'll be tough, but they've got to go there as one of the favourites.
It is the big question, Beth, and obviously we're already seeing that written today across all the media in England. All eyes now on Brazil in the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, and I'm sure that this group of players and Serena Wiegmann, you know, they're a group of winners, and as soon as sort of the dust has settled on these celebrations, they'll be looking ahead to the World Cup. And obviously they came so close 2 years ago in Australia. They got to the final, narrowly lost out to Spain, and they will feel that they want to go one step further and show that they are not just the best in Europe, but the best in the world. And I think this tournament has been really interesting in the sense that England were close at one point. They looked like they could go out in the group stages. And at that point, the narrative around Serena Wiegmann was, you know, what happens if they go out? Does she go? Does she need to walk? And then you look at it now and she's being celebrated, and rightly so. But it shows how fine that line is at this elite level in terms of success. So she won't be resting on her laurels. The team won't either. They will want to absolutely go one step further and win the World Cup in 2027.
Yeah.
They just barely finished with the parade, and you're talking about the World Cup already. Man, I tell you, this is why players have issues in England, huh? They just won the thing. They just raised the trophies. Well, now you got to win the World Cup. Now you got to be the best in the world. It's never enough with you people. Never enough.
Well, let us enjoy it while it lasts.
Well,
okay?
enjoy it, yes. That's what I'm saying. Enjoy it, and then think about the World Cup.
Okay.